Gluing on the back. I've had a number of people ask me how it is possible to glue the back on with hot hide glue and get it all glued and clamped up in time, because hide glue, as it cools, hardens pretty quickly, and so you've got to move kind of quickly to do it. And I have a couple of tricks in doing that, which I'm going to show you. The back fits perfectly at this point, and we have the K&K piezo sensors attached to the bridge plate, and we've taped this part onto the the jack onto the inside of the top. So later when we do it, we'll be able to pull the tape and pull that through the hole that we drill in the tail. But right now we're going to glue this on. So, and the way we do that is we use spool clamps. And a spool clamp is called a spool clamp because it's basically a bolt that has two spool-like pieces, one on each side, that then with a wing nut you can clamp it down and clamp on. The reason for the mold having all of these holes is that's where these go. And the holes do two things. They put the clamps in the right location, and they also protect the side body of the instrument from being scraped by the threads on the carriage bolts that we use. So now I'm going to put these through the holes. And from this side it looks like this. So there, those are all in place. Okay, so there they are, and these are all sticking up. I want to make sure that the overhang, I always leave extra amount that I trim off later, but I want to make sure that that is not going to interfere with the bolts, that I haven't left too much on there. So I always try to make sure that this fits well, and it does. It fits right in there, and there's space. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the other end of the spools here, and we're going to put these on just this back side. I use these ones. They're a little bit thinner because it makes it easier to get it on. You'll see why in a minute. There's no glue yet. This is just all being set up so that when we do get the glue, we'll be ready to rock and roll. There we go. Now, I know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I need 14 more of the spools to finish it up. I'm not putting those on yet because otherwise we won't be able to get the top on. So I set these up so that they're all ready to go. I know I need 14 of them. And I have them all set up here. Okay, we don't need these two. So there's 14 of them. Now I'm going to take washers because the wing nuts, they work better with washers. So we put washers on these. And so that we don't have to be fooling around looking for washers in a little bit, because we need to be quick about it, I'm putting washers on these so I can just take this and put it right on when I need it. It's helpful if you have somebody to come and help you sometimes with this, but I've gotten so I can do it pretty well by myself. There we go. And then we have wing nuts. And these I'm just going to barely get started on here, just like that. Try to avoid dropping things on this. This koa is pretty hard wood. It's pretty strong. Doesn't dent easily. But on the top, if you have a spruce top, or you definitely don't want to be dropping things on it. This means that I don't have to be starting these things once we get it. The glue on there, we can just run them right down. We've left this side open because we're going to be able to scoop that in there. Here's my trick. I take clothespins and I'm going to hold this up and put a clothespin just underneath it there to hold that up. Hold the spool up. And I'm not running it clear to the little groove on the clothespin. I'm just catching it on that little flat part on the very end of it, so that the little jaw of the clothespin doesn't extend too far out. No, it didn't grab. There we go. These are easy to pop off later. There we go. Now, we should be able to get this out like that. So we're going to put glue on, then we're going to put this back in there, then we're going to clamp it down. So now we need the glue. I have the glue heating in my little, I make a little crock pot. This is a little crock pot that has a jar inside of it, and I heat it up to 152 degrees. inside a little jar that's inside here. And this is ready to go. And there's my brush for the glue in there. So we don't need that right now. And so here's the glue. And you want the glue to be the consistency of maple syrup. You can see it's steaming hot. So I'm going to, while this is open, I'm going to just plug it in here. I will give another video on how to make the hot hide glue. So now we're ready to glue this on. So I'm going to put the glue first on the edge here of the sides. And I'm just going to, at this point, if the phone rings, too bad, I'm not answering. Okay, so we've got glue everywhere. Now we're going to put some glue on this. And I've marked it on the inside, a pencil line, so I know where to put the glue, and I'm not going to make a big mess by running it inside the body and leaving a bunch of stuff that'll have to be cleaned up later. Because as you might guess, once this is closed up, it would be really difficult to clean it up. So I just want to make as neat a glue joint as I possibly can. That's for the tail block. Very sticky stuff. This is the same kind of glue that the Egyptians used. It's the same kind of glue that Stradivarius used on his violins. It's the best glue there is for this. It doesn't creep, and it has good sound transference. So now we're going to slip this in here. Get it in place. Make sure that all the braces are seated properly. And then we can pull these clothespins. Clamp it down. And I like to get the ends first. Here, and I try to make it so that it clamps down evenly. Get those on the lower bout. Get one up here on the upper bout. alternating them. It's pretty tight. It's pretty good right now, but we just want to make sure that it's really clamped down really well. No gaps anywhere. You can see why it's nice having the washers already on top of those spools. Got one here in the waist. When you're working with woods that's not as strong, such as spruce for a top or cedar for a top, you have to be careful not to tighten these down too tight. You just want it held snug. One of the other properties of hot hide glue is that it draws things together as it dries. So it actually will tighten the joint, which is really a nice thing about it. The other nice thing about hot hide glue is that if you ever have to do a repair, if you heat it up, you can get the joint apart. And if you're using a epiphytic resin glue like, you know, Type Bond, other than the Type 1, which you can also get apart with heat, you have to sand all the glue off before you re-glue it back together again, because the new glue will not stick to the old glue. But that's not true with hot hide glue. If you heat it up, it will stick again. So that makes it really nice for anybody having to do repair in the future. A lot of people don't like hot hide glue, I think, because they think it's too much trouble. But I think it's actually quite wonderful, and it's not difficult to work with once you get used to it. So there, we've got it all clamped down. We'll check these, finger tight. Make sure they're good. There you have it. So that's all glued on. From this side it looks like this, and and it's all glued on there, so it looks like a nice joint. I'm looking at it all the way around the edge on the outside. I can see where the back is overhanging the sides, but we'll trim that off with like a laminate trimmer on the router. But there's a trick to doing that too, because you can't just run the router on this because it's curved and wedge shaped, and the router will cut square. So there's a trick to doing that too, which I'll show you at another time. Hope you've enjoyed this, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave that in the comments, a question, and I will be sure to answer it for you.